And that's why you should never bet on being fine the next day. What is going on, everybody? This is the Cover Band Confidential Podcast, the podcast for cover band musicians and band leaders to learn how to rock more and suck less. In Atlanta, Georgia, I'm Adam Johnson.
In Greensboro, North Carolina, Dan Ray.
Kind of not firing on all cylinders.
I will say,
this week.
I felt like you were struggling to get through that intro.
Yeah. So last week, I had said my kid came home with a sore throat, and then I woke up with it, and I was like, if I am doing the math right, this thing's going to hit me on gig day. And it didn't. It waited till the very next day, and it has been walloping me ever since.
Yeah.
Our third co-host for this evening is NyQuil Cough DM plus Congestion, which I have decided I will take at an interval during this episode to be determined.
Yeah. You don't want to take it too early. Things might get dicey.
Might get a little loose.
Yeah.
Hey, we crossed the 200 episode threshold.
Hey, congrats.
All bets are off.
That's between here and now. It's all NyQuil. All NyQuil all the time.
All NyQuil all the time. I did want to acknowledge a couple of emails that came in after the episode aired. That was very nice to receive. We got a message from John Wallace and Ryan O'Leary from So Was Red.
Nice.
Both of them very nice complimentary things. And John was the first person that I am aware of that said that he found us on TikTok.
Hey.
Not me as a person, but like the podcast
How about that?
as an entity.
Cool.
I've been trying to cut up some parts and post them as regularly as I can. I posted a couple. I did post the No Sleep Till Brooklyn clip from last episode, and it went over pretty good.
Yeah. I had forgotten all about that solo, and I did go and listen to it, and it was dire. You were absolutely right. Yeah.
It is just absolute chromatic.
Yeah, just atonal wheedling and then a dive bomb. That's pretty much the solo.
And not even on like an on-key dive bomb.
No, yeah, just a completely out of key dive bomb and then into the song.
So, how was your week so far?
My week was good. Let's see. I over the weekend I played at a bar, a new place in town here that's opened by a friend of mine. It's still in soft open, but he's crushing it. He's doing great. And so I played in the corner of the inside of it. It was going to be a little too chilly to play outside, which by the end of the night, we kind of regretted making that call because it had stayed kind of okay. And there were still people out on the patio that I would have been playing to. But I will be back there now. We've said every other Saturday. And so that's exciting. It's a fun place. And it's going to be good cash and a good crowd. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Did the trivia last night and packed it. So 2 weeks ago, there was nobody. Last week, we were at capacity and the room was in. So, it just go frickin' fig, I guess. Who knows?
4 words. Naked beer night.
Naked beer night. You should count those words again, but I think apart from that.
Maybe I already took the NyQuil.
Could be.
Maybe we're already in it.
Yeah, well, this will be interesting.
But yeah, you just shake yourself off.
Yep.
You had a weird night.
Yep.
Something just didn't click.
Yep.
And you're back to normal.
Exactly right.
Whatever that means.
Yep, exactly right. And let's see. So here's the other thing. We're going to talk about this in a bit, but I have our first gig for the new band. A good friend of mine has a great backyard that she throws parties in, and I have actually played it with both of my bands that I've been in the last, since I kind of got back to banding. One of them, the first band was kind of before we started really gigging, and it was just for fun. And the second one, she hired us when we were already an established thing to come play a party. And I approached her last week and said, "Look, I got a band that needs its first gig in a kind of a low pressure situation. Going to knock the corners off." She said, "Great, I'll throw a party." So it's going to be April 2nd. Will be the first gig of that band. So it's
nice.
Yeah, it's exciting.
So it's officially a fish now.
It is a fish. It is a fish out of water.
If you say so.
I don't know. I'm trying to land that plane and it's not happening, but anyway.
Very cool.
So we'll have some more to say, I think, about that whole project pretty soon here, but that's my news for the week.
All right. So we did the gig that I've been talking about for a solid month now with a client who is becoming content. And it was an interesting situation on a couple of fronts. My favorite part was when we came in to load into the venue, which was gorgeous, by the way. The guy's wife was there, and she was kind of setting things up. And we were just kind of casually talking as she was walking around. And she said in no particular terms that, like, oh, yeah, he will absolutely wear you out with details and stuff. So I felt very validated because he was being super hands-on. And the interesting thing is that the karaoke assumption that he had twisted about a week out did end up being what happened. It wasn't so much that he wanted people to be able to sing with the band. He wanted to sing with the band.
Yeah.
And there were not many takers on the karaoke side.
What did he sing?
So he was on the books for singing Fight for Your Right to Party.
Nice.
Which we did, and it was a lot of fun. And then he came up to do a second round of thank yous, and then just started like a-cappella-ing Under the Bridge.
Huh.
And so on the fly, we just kind of started playing under him and made it all the way through the song. It was another one of those kind of seat of your pants kind of moments, which were super fun.
Yep.
We run into some issues with the Ableton playbacks. So we're like, screw it, we'll just use Band Helper MP3s. And it worked perfectly fine. It was a very kind of like lean and mean operation, and all the stuff sounded great. I ended up streaming parts of it and kept the recordings.
Cool.
And I mean, it sounded good in the room, and everybody played well, and they had a great time. And yeah, it was great.
Awesome.
All the things that I was dreading didn't happen.
Perfect.
Really.
I love when that. I love when those don't happen.
And yeah, and then like on the flip side, today we got 5 inquiries.
Wow.
Not from that party, just purely by happenstance. But
Okay.
I was in Band Helper, like sending out alerts like all day long. The last one being for an event that's happening at the Masters in Augusta.
Nice.
We haven't gotten head count, and I haven't gotten pricing approval, but I'm still trying to make sure that we are doing all the things that we can, because it's literally less than a month away. So it could be a bit of a challenge, and I don't want to go down there, which is, it's about a 2.5 hour, 3 hour drive. So we need to go down there, full throttle, and not with a bunch of subs, and
Right.
to be able to do it the right way. So
That's good.
we had mentioned Jeff Miller and his buddy who got the gig as the lead vocalist of Smash Mouth. That might be an interview that is in the works. So be on the lookout for that.
Fun.
This week's video is another one of these topics where we're going to cover it on the podcast, but not because we planned it ahead of time, but because of serendipity.
That's right. Fell in our lap.
It was just kind of a fortuitous series of events that makes the topic of the episode the topic of the episode.
Yep.
One other thing I managed to do today was I put a video together because I had all this raw audio from this last gig, and I did my live show vocal range.
Oh, I saw that. That was good.
It was super. Like I've never I haven't done that before, where I was like thinking, I looked at the song list, and then I kind of pieced the audio together. I was like, what are the lowest notes and the highest notes that I sing over the course of an evening? And if you count the Prince section of that, I clock in at 4 full octaves. Yeah. On any given night. Yeah. Which was pretty interesting to consider. But yeah, there were some good notes up in there. So
juicy stuff.
If you've never done that, you should think about it. It's, if nothing else, the curiosity factor was entertaining for me nonetheless. Yeah. Anyway, all right. Let's get into the actual meat of the conversation. So Dan, I'm going to go ahead and let you take the lead on this one for now.
Sure. So one of the things that I am confronting right now is how to bring a new product to market that has no background or history or name recognition or anything like that. And
we're talking a ground floor operation.
Ground floor operation. You never heard of it before, and nobody else has either. And so as a product manager in my day gig, it's one of the things that I deal with is how to, create a groundswell of interest and make sure that I have product market fit and all sorts of things like that. I'm confident about all those things. There's just now the matter of getting our name out, getting some brand recognition started up, getting some credibility around our brand. That's always the thing. Like, they ask, where have you played before? And the answer is nowhere. So that's not great. So I'm thinking about how to deal with that. And the main tool that I use, that I take out, when I'm beating the street, is a one sheet that's essentially front and back of a legal size piece of paper. And that you design carefully and design for your audience and all that stuff. And so I've written one for my new project, The New Strange. And what I've essentially leaned into on one side of it is the resume of all of these really senior and mature and well-groomed players that I have. So one of them's played with a couple of bands There's me that's played with a couple of bands There's my drummer who's played with nothing around here but has some good names in other areas. There's my bassist who's a recent graduate of a local music school and is, I say some great things about how she does. And so it's all about sort of building that kind of trust and that kind of credibility, despite this being a brand new project that you've never heard of. Yeah, it's a brand new project, but we're all real seasoned players with real high standards, and we know what we're about. So you don't have to worry about putting us on your stage. We're going to do great. That's what the message of that is. And then the flip side is kind of the fun side. It's a sample set list that is deliberately like very eclectic and kind of tells the story we want to tell about the sort of material we're covering. And then some stuff about what we're available for and contact information, stuff like that. So that's one part of it. The other part is this party that I sold my friend on having for us, which is going to be a great opportunity to get some video and some photography and get us all together, playing together and looking like a band. And so that'll be part of the story too. And some really good videos I intend to get there. But the other thing that I've been doing is taking recordings off of the digital mixer, the Soundcraft UI24R, which records to a USB drive in multitrack. We recorded a whole rehearsal with the intention of getting some minute-long snippets to put together into a highlight reel. Did that, sounded good. But then I thought, I actually really want to have some full songs as well, some whole, pieces. And so we did that. And what we ended up with was pretty darn clean and nice sounding recordings of Beggin' by Maneskin, Folsom Prison Blues, and a couple others. And they sounded pretty good. And so then the thought was, well, I reminded myself once again that Facebook doesn't have a good way of just sharing an audio, just sharing music. You have to make a video with the music in it, and I could do that. It's fine. And same with really all the other platforms. There's no way to just share a song. But there is a way to stream music. And so I recalled that sometime back I had used a distribution platform called Distrokid to put a file out under the name of my former project. And so I did that. I stood up these 4 tunes inside of the streaming platforms through Distrokid. And it's now, as of right now, we're on Apple Music, and Spotify should be soon. And then they do like 20 others that you never heard of. And we're going to be on all of those. So the point is, like, we now have that we can point people to. How many cover bands come to sell, hey, come hire my classic rock band. Do you have demos? Yeah, we're on Spotify. That's something. Yeah. That's not nothing. Some credibility. I'm looking for any credibility I can get, given I have no stage time to talk about with this project. So I shared that on the Patreon Slack and shared the mix downs that I'd made. And Adam's like, oh, we're talking about that on the video this week. So, it ties in with something that we're gonna be talking on our YouTube channel, about the licensing, distribution, streaming, etc. of cover material, right? So
yes,
I'll hand it over to you for that.
So yeah, the thrust of this week's video topic is the economics of cover songs.
Yep.
Both for the artists who originally write the songs and the bands and or solo artists that are playing them. And there is a full, all-encompassing economy in that realm.
Yep.
And so the basic gist of the video and this week's topic is the 3 main questions. Is it legal for me to play cover songs? If it is, who's paying the royalties when I perform them?
Mm-hmm.
If my band records a cover, who gets paid? And just the general kind of ancillary questions around those main topics.
Yep.
So this is one of those occasions where I get to put on my music business degree and parade it around.
Nice.
It doesn't happen very often, but this is one of those things that I do know a little something about. Though I will tell you, I most certainly spot checked everything that I said
Good.
in this video.
Good.
Because it had been a number of years since I had taken copyright law.
Well, and if you don't check it out, the comment section will. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot, and even still, like, things have changed since I learned those things.
Sure.
So, and for those of you who are listening around the world, you'll have to apologize for our ignorance. The only information that we have revolves around United States copyright laws.
Yep.
In my hope, upon all hopes is that your country's copyright and songwriting laws and rules are less complex than ours.
Yeah.
So in the United States, there are 4 main types of royalties that a composer or artist can earn for a song. You have performance royalties, which are exactly what they sound like. When a song is performed or a recording is played, you get your thing. That royalty is almost always split between the songwriter and the publisher. And you'll notice that with certain artists, they own their own publishing companies. That's kind of a way to kind of get around that. And those are typically managed through a performing rights organization of some kind: ASCAP, BMI, CSAC. Here's a funny fact, and again, it's not funny, and nobody cares. But ASCAP and BMI are they're acronyms. BMI is Broadcast Music Incorporated, and ASCAP is the American Society of Composers and Performers.
Yeah.
CSAC, SESAC, not an acronym.
Oh.
They're just like, we're called CSAC. It means nothing. So that's performance royalties. The next one are mechanical royalties. Mechanical royalties are the fees that are paid anytime a composition is reproduced in some sort of tangible medium. So think CDs are being pressed, or the original term was for piano rolls, because mechanical royalty. There's also something about like MP3 files being generated. So like a digital album sale would qualify for mechanical royalties, where a streaming one would not, because nothing's being made. It's just like being distributed out. That one is going to be something we will loop back around to. The next one are sync royalties, which is when somebody takes your recording of a song and puts it in a TV show or a commercial. That's the only one that is determined by market demand. Ergo, it's typically the most lucrative, because people will pay what they feel like the going rate is for the composition and its use. So that's a good one to get in on if you have the means and the channels to do that. And the fourth one is print music royalties, which is the opposite of sync royalties, because nobody makes any money off of them at all. Because we're not George Gershwin. I'm sure he used it to buy himself an in-ground toilet.
I'm sure Stephen Stinkin' Foster made some good money off of that.
Indeed. So those are the royalties that one makes in creating a composition and other people using it. All right. So let's talk about live performances, because that's what we typically do. We go into a venue, we play a song, we play 40 songs, we play 60 songs. And I have been in situations, and I have been of the impression that I need to be concerned about the music that I'm playing, because somebody needs to pay somebody for us to do this. And I've definitely been told by people who know less than I do that, that's something that you as the end musician performer needs to be concerned with. But I am here to tell you that it is not. With very, very few exceptions. The venue, bar, restaurant, what have you, that hires you to perform is typically the one responsible for paying the royalties to the performing rights organizations for you to make the music that you're making.
As a matter of fact, those organizations don't have a product to sell to musicians. It's not something that musicians could buy. What they sell to is venues, and it's a blanket license. They just charge an amount per capacity, I think, right, of the venue. And that term is the term that we're using. They're called blanket licenses. If you're out and about at like restaurants or bars and stuff, look in the windows of these establishments as you kind of walk in. Most of the time you will see an ASCAP sticker or a BMI sticker, or maybe both. And that is just their way of outwardly going, hey, we pay for this. Now, I have also played at venues where there are signs everywhere as you go on stage that say no cover songs. Typically, that's going to be more of a lower end DIY, indie punk kind of venue thing. Or folk songwriter. That's also a common idiom for those guys.
So kind of on these lower end performance arenas, they may not be willing or able to afford those licenses, those blanket fees, and so they will say, "Hey, you can only write stuff. You can only play stuff that you've created."
There was a brew pub in town here that I was booking for a while that was that way. They didn't want to spend the money on that. They didn't have it to spend. And so they were an all originals venue, and the people who were into all originals venues totally love that. Totally love that. And every now and then, I remember one night I was in there and listening to a guy play his weepy nonsense, and he busted out Personal Jesus, and it made me very happy as a cover guy and very mad as a booker.
You know, somebody's got to pay Dave for that.
Right.
So yeah, that's something that the venue is responsible for. And if there's ever any doubt about that, just know that you as a musician are off the hook for that.
And by the way, there are people paid by those organizations who come in and listen to the music and actually track it and report home about what songs they hear being played in places. I took guitar lessons for a while from a guy who in college, like made his way through college, doing that, go into a bar that had a band on or just overhead music. He knew who in his market were paid up through his organization and who weren't. And he'd go into ones that weren't, and he would just write down the songs he heard.
Yeah.
Send it into them.
Yeah, they're called auditors.
Yep.
And when I lived in Nashville, you know, ASCAP and BMI had, actually all of them, CSEC did too. Their headquarters were there.
Right.
So that was a job that you could have.
Yep.
And they had specific rules because, like, you were more or less an undercover cop
Right.
for these organizations.
Yes.
So there are, like, strict rules around you can go to an establishment and you have to stay there for a period of time. You're allowed to consume X number of alcoholic beverages over X number of time.
Right.
Because they want to make sure that you look like a patron
Right.
and not like a narc.
Right.
So it was just the lengths that they were willing to go to get accurate reporting for these things was just super entertaining and interesting.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're a young buck looking for a way to make sure that artists are getting their fair share, you can get paid to go to bars and drink as long as you're willing to narc them out
Right.
when they're not paying their fair share.
Right. There is also this feeling among some people that it's just a scam. It's just a hustle. It's a shakedown of venues.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. Also, I think it's a very rare originals artist who makes any kind of money off of that sort of operation. But I'm glad some do, and I'm glad that they're around for it. I actually don't necessarily like the business model, but I like that it pays songwriters.
It's a necessary evil,
Yeah.
and for artists, it is a slice of an income stream
Yep.
that, you know, they deserve to be compensated
Sure.
for.
Yeah.
So I can see it from both sides because I understand that small businesses have, you know, thin margins and that kind of thing. But on the same note, musicians have thin margins too.
That's right.
If any.
Yeah.
So they deserve to get compensated as well. And it's not necessarily something that you're going to get a fair distribution of. Like Old Crow Medicine Show is not necessarily getting paid more than Zach Brown is in the ever like constant battle between Wagon Wheel and Chicken Fried. They're getting roughly the same amount of $7 per quarter,
Right.
For those royalties.
Right.
So that's the main thrust around live performances. Those are performance royalties that are paid to the artist whenever you play at a club or do a solo musical wallpaper show at a restaurant. The next thing is kind of around your situation,
Yep.
which is your cover band not only decided that you were going to go out there and sell yourself as a product for live performances, but you have now created a tangible product that you are now distributing through online streaming and that kind of thing. And there's a whole mechanism to that as well. So the first question is, all right, you recorded Beggin' by Maneskin.
Yep.
Which is actually an even more interesting
It is.
prospect because Maneskin's
That's a
version
cover.
of Begging is a cover
Yep.
of
Frankie Valli.
Was it Frankie Valli?
Yep.
Yeah, Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. Great band. That was from Love Actually. The the premise there is that in order for you to release your take of a song, you're entitled to royalties.
Yep.
Around streaming revenue and, physical media sale and that kind of thing. But you're also on the hook a little bit.
Yes.
So in this case, this is like it's like a tiered situation. The you as a cover band person who put the recording out and sent it to Distrokid to put up on all of his platforms.
Yep.
Had to pay a mechanical royalty to
Frankie Valli.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. But
So,
here's the beautiful thing about Distrokid, and there are a couple of platforms that do this, CD Baby's another.
Yeah, both of them get name dropped in the video.
Yeah, good. I back in 2001, when I was a web developer, made the first version of CD Baby's website. Their guy Derek Savers was a client of mine, and I knew him pretty well. Anyway, but I didn't use them because I found Distrokid, and when I was first looking for this, the picture around managing this licensing was real clear with Distrokid and much less so with CD Baby, but I think they've sorted that out by now. But
their approaches are different.
Yeah. So I can't speak to how CD Baby does it. Distrokid, you upload your song and give the details, and you say this is not an original. Here's the original artist and the title, and check a box to say yes, please handle licensing for me. And for $12 a year, they will research the real person who is the real songwriter, acquire that license on your behalf, and it takes a couple of days, but they do it, and then you're good to go. It's like There's nothing more to do about it. It's the simplest way to do that of any of those distribution things that I looked at when I was looking at it it was a couple of years ago. It was the last time I really researched it. So,
and it is complicated because when you're dealing with mechanical royalties, the fee that you are paying the original composer is technically tied to the number of units you either expect to sell or do sell.
Right.
So there's a speculatory component of it, and for services like CD Baby, it is a bit more modular.
Mm-hmm.
It's you can say we only intend to sell 100 copies of this, and so the fee that you pay is more literal. It's more like specific.
Yeah.
Whereas what Distrokid's entire operation is we got you.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Leave it all to us.
Drop us your file. We'll handle it. Yeah.
And you pay a particular convenience fee.
Yes.
For those services. And then they also have a situation, their whole model is set up around continually paying them.
That's right.
Because if you don't, they will pull your stuff off of those platforms.
They do have a pay us one time a certain larger amount to have it be permanent, but I haven't done that.
Yeah. So, there's a couple of things to consider there. One isn't necessarily better than the other. There are pros and cons to both. If you're a person who is intending on doing a lot of releasing, Distrokid is fantastic because, like I said, it is very hands off. They do all of the administrative work, and whatever any sort of discrepancy that there might be between what you paid for the mechanical royalty and the money that you're bringing in, well, they're just going to move the pennies around to make sure that you are you're on the up and up. You don't have to worry about falling out of compliance with PROs.
Yep.
So yeah, that's the main thrust. So Dan gets performance royalties anytime that the new Strange gets streamed.
It's a hundredth of a penny.
Yeah, you're going to get it's like 1,500 streams equals like one album download is the metric that they're working by now. And I'd made a video that Machine Gun Kelly video that will not die on TikTok. Every time it's been like 3 weeks, and then every once in a while, like I open it up and I have like 80 new notifications. I was like, God, somebody found it. And some guy I had mentioned that like his album went platinum in an era where most albums don't.
Right.
And somebody made the comment and wrote platinum in air bunnies, quotation fingers. In this case, it was written, so it was actual quotation.
But you could feel the fingers quoting at you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I did make a follow-up video, and I was like, this felt like that this was some sort of like gotcha moment for me. But let's crunch these numbers. So originally, in the 50s, when the RIAA started handing out gold records, a gold record back in the 50s was 1 million records. And then in the 80s, they switched it. And it went from 1 million records to 500,000 records was a gold record, and then platinum was 1 million. And then they, as things got completely out of hand, they went, diamond and beyond for that. As of February of 2016, they started implementing streaming numbers into those sales figures. And it's not an either or, it is an aggregate of physical sales and streaming. So in regards to album streams and song streams for those statuses, the gold record for a single is like 75 million streams, and a gold album is like 750 million streams, and then a platinum album is 1.5 billion streams.
There you go.
And you look at those numbers and you're like, how is 1.5 billion streams less impressive than 1 million physical copies?
Yeah.
Newsflash, it ain't.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah.
And it's just it's the way it's the way of the world now. Now, I mean, we could do an entire episode on compensation around streaming revenue and that kind of thing. Is it fair? No, it's not fair at all. But this is like the conversation we had about Smash Mouth. Smash Mouth and Spotify, same thing. The alternative to Smash Mouth with a new singer is no Smash Mouth.
Right.
And the alternative to Spotify is piracy.
Right. You're right. We did that in the 90s. It was not great. As a user experience, it was not great. It's better than paying money, apparently, but still not good.
For sure. Well, also, Napster was the reaction to an industry who had lost its way.
Mm-hmm.
Because they knew that you were going to have to spend $10 to $15 on a CD for the one song.
Right.
And they were intentionally putting albums out with one song.
Right.
Knowing that you'd have to buy the whole thing to get it. So Napster fixed that problem for them, but they couldn't quite get their hands around it until the guys from Spotify figured it out. And, iTunes to a lesser degree. But it is the best option out there right now. And with the market the way that it is, there's a lot less gatekeepers. And if you want to release music, like Dan said, it's super hella easy.
Yep.
And it didn't used to was.
Right.
Another funny aside, one of the guys that I mentioned in this week's video is a guy I went to high school with. His name's Sam Tenez. Sam Tenez is a songwriter and solo artist who lives in Nashville, and he is my friend. He's now signed, I believe, with Universal, but he released his first big solo release independently through Spotify. And he was the first person to show me how to steal music.
Okay.
He's like, there's this thing called Napster. Check this out.
Check it out. Any song you want is there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was, it's just funny that the guy that, now makes his living off of streaming revenue was the person, showed me how to steal music.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Times.
The other takeaway I think
my rant is over.
The other takeaway here is that it's going to take a lot of streams for me to make platinum with my begging.
Yeah.
I got a long way to go.
This would be the time for you to, do something very debasing online with your version of begging playing in the background.
Yeah, I could take that piece that's used on TikTok of the Minuskin version and do my own, I could put a t-shirt, like a bikini on, like, pull it to my, the dance they do, whatever it is.
Yep. I do know.
You do.
There's currently there's a song that's blowing up in there right now, which is like this trap song. And it was the weirdest thing. It's this guy who's probably my age, at Mardi Gras. They were there was like a parade going on, and one of these floats is playing this like just buck nasty like trap song, and he's just vibing out and singing along, like he knows all the words. And I'd never heard that song before, and now it is everywhere. The song has completely blown up,
right.
And this dude is now like the ultimate like dad bod thirst trap for like the internet.
Party dad. Yeah. I think we had a similar situation with some cranberry juice and some Fleetwood Mac maybe a year ago.
Absolutely. Yeah, because Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks are really hurting
Yeah, they need the streaming revenue real bad.
For sure.
Yeah.
I did say something super controversial on TikTok today. Someone had asked if what cover song do you like better than the original, and I was like, I'm totally gonna get roasted for this, but the Chicks version of Landslide that they released in the early 2000s, I like it better than the Fleetwood Mac version. It's got bluegrass instrumentation, and it's got like the big thick, Dixie chick, vocal stacks, and it's a beautiful song, and I thought their take was really good. Well, hopefully that was educational and informational and wasn't completely an absolute drag.
Yeah, and don't shy away from putting your stuff up on streaming platforms. There's really, aside from a few bucks, and it's not very many bucks. There's no reason not to.
Yeah, I'm toying with the idea of putting some stuff out there this year. Well, I think that we covered some ground. We were educational. We were delicious and nutritious.
That is what we shoot for.
And I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure that this NyQuil has kicked in.
Well, we should put you to bed then.
Yep, I think it is. I think it's go time. Yeah. Folks, thanks so much for tuning in. We appreciate all of your support. We appreciate the kind words for us hitting that big old 200. We have no signs of slowing down. We have no intention of doing anything but coming at you every week with mostly things that we learn by making mistakes, but also sharing the things that we know and helping you guys go further faster in your music career, whatever that might look like. And hopefully Dan's tale and my educational rants will inspire you to put some physical media out there. I know there's a bunch of guys in the community that do release their own music. Shout out to Donnie Howard. He is doing some amazing, I'm going to say island tinged country. His stuff is awesome, and he's a good dude.
Good dude.
And I know that because I met him. We've had a lot of fun opportunities to hang out with listeners of the podcast, and hopefully there'll be more of those as the world opens up and my sinuses drain. Otherwise, I think we're good for this week.
I think so too.
Thanks again, y'all. Love you. In Atlanta, Georgia, I'm Adam Johnson.
In Greensboro, North Carolina, Dan Ray.
You have been listening to the Covering Confidential podcast for the week of March 11th, 2022. Have a great week.